Hey there to our youth group. This is your youth pastor, Luke Taylor. And once again, I just want to come to you through the internet as I have been doing the past few weeks. And I want to be able to meet with you today because it is once again a Wednesday. And I know that every day is starting to feel like every other day. You know, every day, doesn't matter if it's Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever, they all feel the same. And yet, today is Wednesday. It's the day that we would normally have church if we could meet together. And I hope to see you again in here on Wednesday nights once all of this coronavirus mess passes. I hope and look forward to seeing you again in here. But until then, I'm going to come to you, through the internet, through this new means of getting the word out to you as your youth pastor. And a lot of this stuff is new for me. And so I'm trying to figure out a lot of how this videoing works and getting used to talking to a camera whenever I can't see you face to face. But I'm going to try to do my best. What I want to talk about today is this whole idea of being the church, even though we can't meet with each other face to face. And so I thought of a little bit more interesting name, I think, for these messages. Instead of calling them digital church, I want to start calling them together apart. And I call it that because we're together right now. We're meeting together as a church, virtually, digitally, okay? We're coming together right now. On Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're watching this, we're coming together here, and yet we're physically apart. Physically we have to keep the distance from each other. So physically, I don't see you. And yet, right now I still want to try to come together. I want to have church together through this video camera, through the internet. Now, can we do that? Can we have church together even though we're separated physically apart? Well, that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what it really means to be the church. And every now and then, I've got a little drink here. I'm going to take a little drink every now just to keep my voice fresh as I'm talking, and so that it doesn't start getting dry. If I have to take a drink, what I'll probably do is cut to a picture of Marty, my dog, and I'll just try to show you Marty so that you're not staring at me as I'm taking a drink out of my tumbler right here. And so I feel like it would be kind of awkward if you were just staring at me while I'm taking a drink. So I'll try to cut to something more interesting. And, the most interesting thing in my life is Marty. So I'll give you a little bit of that. What am I talking about today, though? Being together apart. Being the church, even whenever we're not together in this building. So what is the church? That's a question that is a little bit hard to define because it can mean more than one thing. Whenever we say, this or that is the church, I am going to church, people mean different things by the term church. Is church whenever we come together on a Wednesday night and have one of our refocused services right here in this room? Is that what it means to be church? Or could it mean something else? Could it mean something bigger than that? So what is the church? Well, there's a lot of different ways someone could answer that, so I want to give you probably some of the three main ones tonight, and I'll try to keep it brief. I actually had created this little message, this little sermonette, as a devotional that I was going to do one time back in the fall. There was a night where Joplin and Webb City were having parades on a Wednesday, and so we had really low numbers in youth. I said, whoever shows up tonight, I will take you out to Sonic. They've got these 99-cent mozzarella sticks. You can get 5 for $1. So I said, we're going to go to Sonic, and we went over here to Sonic, and we pulled in. There's only a few of us there that night who could come together. We pulled in. They were out of power at Sonic. They were literally out of electricity. So we flew down to another Sonic and went down to the one by Main Street. And we got there, and they were all out of mozzarella sticks because everyone was buying the cheese sticks that day. So I think, got some ice cream for you guys, the ones who showed up, and they took 20 or 30 minutes just to bring us our ice cream. And then I didn't have time to go to the park and share this little devotional with you guys. So now you're all going to be able to get it right now. You can all get it right now, and you can even get yourself some ice cream while you listen if you want. That's always an option for you. But I'm finally able to deliver this idea, this message of what is the church. And so the church, I could think of three ways that we could define what the church is. And number one, I would say the church is a building. Church is a building, okay? It is literally the facility where we do all come together physically a lot. It is the building where we come together to worship God together, to learn about Jesus together. That it is literally the building with 4 walls and a roof where we do congregate at least once a week. Okay, Hebrews 10, chapter 10, verses 24 and 25 say, "Let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Okay, so there's many people who say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, but they never actually go into church. They never darken the doorway of a church, even though they'll say that they're Christians. Well, the Bible says right there, if you're a Christian, you should go to church. You should go regularly. You should go once a week. It says it's more and more important all the time to go to church because we're getting closer and closer to the end times. So it's always more important to be going to church. It's more important to go to church now than it was a year ago. It's going to be more important to go to church now than it was last week. It's always more important to be at church, physically together at church, because the Bible says we're always just getting closer to the end, so it's always more important to go to church. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people doing the opposite as we get closer to the end. We see a lot of people stop going to church and stop taking God seriously as we get closer to the end. But the Bible says we should not be doing that. So there's thousands of churches all over this country. Thousands, maybe millions, I don't know. There's lots and lots, thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of churches all over the country. Lots of options for you to go and worship God. If you don't like one church, there's probably another one you can find that you would like better. There's lots and lots of options for churches, so everybody should always be going to church. And I hope as long as possible we can see you at our church, especially once we can get back together. So the church is a physical building. That is okay to say, this physical building is a church. That is how a lot of people use the term church. But I want you to know today, it's not just a physical building. There's more to the definition of the church. I'm going to take a drink real quick before I go on. The church is not just a physical building. The church also is you. You are the church, okay? When you're a Christian, you are part of the church of Jesus Christ. Now, that means the church, since you are the church, you as a member of God's church, no matter what denominations someone's in, no matter what physical building they go to for worship, if you are a Christian, you're a member of the church of Jesus Christ. So a lot of times, most of the time when the Bible talks about the church, it's not talking about the physical building. It's talking about the people who make up the bride of Christ, the congregation of Jesus Christ, wherever they are in the world, all of us scattered all around the world. But we're all a member of the church with a capital C is how I'd put it. We are all part of that church. And so regardless of where you are being the church. No matter where you go, that is where the church is going. The church is sitting in your seat right now because you are the church. And so most of the time in the Bible, when it talks about the church, it's talking about you, the person. So can we still have church even when I'm sitting in front of the camera and you're watching on your phone or on your computer? Can we still have church? Well, yes, because I'm a member of the church and you're a member of the church. And so the Bible says in Matthew 18:20, Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am among them. That's what Jesus promised. And I think right now in this season of having to stay in our homes and doing the social distancing, I believe pretty firmly that, he extends that even to times like this where we can't actually be together physically, but we're doing what we can to still have church. And so I think he honors that, and he's present right now in even the recording and formation of this message to you. Regardless of what time of day you listen to it, right now we are being the church. And so thank you for watching right now. I'm glad you're watching. I want to give you one more way that the church exists. Actually, I want to take a drink real quick, and then I'll tell you the third way that we could define the term church. Quick drink break. I'm not done yet. Okay, so we could define the church as a building with 4 walls and a roof. We could define the church as you being the church, all Christians everywhere being the church. I want to tell you one more way that we could define church. The church is Jesus. Now you're saying, now that's a little bit weird. Like, why would you say the church is Jesus? Well, because Jesus, whenever he was leaving this planet, going back up to heaven, he said, from now on, I will not be represented in the world through a physical body. He came to earth in a physical body. He said, from now on, I will no longer be represented on this earth in a physical body. I'm now going to be represented on earth as the church. He said, that's how I will be represented to the world, is as the church. And so really, in a lot of ways, that's what Jesus means when he talks about the church, is his representation in the world. And we see that whenever Saul, if you know the story of Saul, he was a man who was persecuting the church, persecuting Christians all over the place. He wanted to kill Christians. He thought he was doing God a favor if he could just kill all those Christians. But then Jesus appeared to him on a road one day and said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? He said, when you're out there killing those Christians, you're persecuting me. In fact, I'll read the verse for you. It's Acts chapter 9. It says in verse 4, falling to the ground, he, which is Paul, heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And he said, who are you, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. So therefore, to attack the church is to attack Jesus. Okay? To honor the church is to honor Jesus. The church represents Jesus in this world. So someday, whenever we get to leave our homes and we can go back outside and go back out into public, go back out into the world, I hope you'll remember that as you go out into the world, you are actually representing Jesus to the world. You are being a representative of Christ to the world. So when you do well, you represent him well. You make Jesus look good. When we're a bad witness, we make Jesus look bad. And so I hope you'll take that seriously, that Jesus is represented to this world and to all lost people by you, by us, by you and me. So a lot depends on us to do our best and to be good Christians so that we represent him well. And so those are three things that the church is, three ways we could define church. Yes, it's a physical building. Yes, the Bible talks about it as a physical building. That's not wrong. But more importantly, the church is you and me and all Christians everywhere. We are the church. And then the third way, the church is Jesus, because the church is representing Jesus to the world, and Jesus is working in this world through us, the church. We're the hands and feet of Jesus in the world. So I hope we'll take that seriously, especially when we can go back out into the world again. And I hope you'll be thinking about ways that you can represent Jesus well. I'm going to close down here. If you want a little bit more information on what it means to be a task force for God, I actually did put a message up that I recorded last year, and I just put it up on my YouTube a few days ago. It's called God's Task Force, and it's about what it means to be a servant representative of Christ in the world, and I do that by looking at the 12 apostles. And those apostles, the 12 disciples of Jesus, they all can represent all Christians in a lot of ways. And so I put that up just recently. You can find that on my YouTube channel. It's one of the most recent things. And it's only about 30 minutes long, so it's not super long for a sermon. And I think I've talked long enough for today. So thanks for listening. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we could have church together right now. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And this has been your youth pastor, Luke Taylor. I'll be praying for you, and I'll talk to you again later.